Winter 2025 has just begun, providing a vast amount of Isekai content to watch. Firstly, there is From Bureaucrat to Villainess, Dad's Been Reincarnated. This one is a blast, with 52-year-old Kondabayashi being reincarnated as Grace, a daughter of a duke. It is an otome game Isekai as well as a gender bend, which is hilarious. His daughter is the one who owns the game initially, and he notices her playing it before he dies. This seems to be a satire in love for villainesses from the 70s and 80s, which stands out on its own. Now reincarnated though, he has to play the role of the villainess, but he's too often blinded by his parents' guidance and gaze. So instead of derailing the heroine, he instead provides help, and it's a unique take on the genre that feels really solid. I definitely would recommend this series for any otome game lovers or shoujo enjoyers. Even still, there's enough to keep a male audience such as myself engaged as well.
Hey look, a cardboard box washed up on the beach. Holy fish paste! It's a guy!
One of the more underrated and funny isekai series this season is the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world. The story follows Kenichi, who is transported from Japan to this fantasy land for no real reason. He is not your typical OP protag though, and he can only progress through his item box and ability to buy items from online stores. Kenichi buys cheap items such as hairpins and sells them to gain enough wealth so that he can live a comfortable life. Instead of going around and one-shotting everything in his way, we watch as Kenichi is a salesman in another world. It is important to note though that we see Kenichi suiting up into a Voltron-style mech made out of industrial dozers in the OP, so I can't wait to see that. Also, a quick question, does anyone else think this cat girl is just butt-ass naked here? No? Just me? Okay.
Oh, who's gonna come clean this up? Oh my god, who's gonna go?
Rose toy.
This is quietly one of the better isekai series this season, with Kenichi growing his business with a merchant named Mallow. It is a nice laid-back show that you can turn off your brain, relax, and just unwind with. I highly recommend it. Promise of Wizard follows Akira transported to another world on a moonlit night. At first glance, this appears to be an otome-style isekai with Akira surrounded by typical shoujo hotties. This follows Akira and the Wizards of the Sage, wizards that are appointed to fight a supernatural threat that come once a year from the moon. Akira is chosen as the savior and must lead the Wizards of the Sage to fight these forces off. This show is more directed towards a female demographic with reverse harem tropes littered throughout it. If you're looking for a shoujo-focused isekai this season, Promise of Wizard is just that.
Don't be intimidated, Squidward. Try to imagine him in his underwear. Oh no, he's hot!
If you like gunplot or the Super Sentai genre, there is the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Togo Azagaki is a Power Ranger who dies in the final battle only to be reincarnated into a fantasy world. CGI is a little janky at times, but when it looks clean, it looks fantastic. The mech actually looks really well defined. Even better, the monsters match the mecha style as well, making it fit stylistically. If you want to see a giant mecha fight massive monsters or just love Super Sentai in general, this series has everything you'll love. For me, this is the most underappreciated isekai series as of right now, but it'll be one of your favorites by the end of this season. Magic Maker, How to Make Magic in Another World, focuses on a 30-year-old man reborn in another world named Shion. The first episode focuses on Mary and Shion's relationship as kids with typical childhood antics. The only thing is, the concept of magic does not exist in this world, with Shion being disappointed that it isn't a thing. There is a 3-year time skip and they go fishing where we have this awkward conversation.
私とシオンには求愛行動はいらないのね。もう家族だもん。私は女の子でシオンは男の子じゃない？
産まないよ。っていうか兄弟では結婚できないから。
どうして？シオンは私のこと好きじゃないの？
Knock that off, you two. It's time for church.
Shion declines her advances but insists that he won't get married in order to stay with his sister instead, which still seems a little yucky. This sister complex stuff has never been for me and it still isn't right now, but I'm sure there are many people who will enjoy it. Shion discovers magic while denying his sister's advances, and the story is about him creating the concept of magic in this world. The use of powerful emotions triggered that magical response. This series compares this to electric eels, who have an organ that help create electric fields, and how this world's humans may have a similar organ. Shion describes this as a magically charged state. The rest of the episode focuses on Chion discovering more about how to conduct magic into a state and use it. Magic Maker is a story about Chion trying to create the concepts and basis of magic in this other world, vastly changing history in the process. Beheneko, the elf girl's cat is secretly an S-ranked monster, is a story about a knight reincarnating as a behemoth that looks like a house cat. This is a ecchi-filled show that follows Arya, a female elf adventurer who takes in our cat protag, Tama. Beheneko is a series that furries can indulge and love, as Arya states that she's perfectly fine with crossbreeding with Tama when he's older. The one thing about Tama is that he's similar to Rimuru Tempest from Slime Sama in the manner that when he consumes the other monsters, he obtains their abilities. This is this season's fan service show, so much so that they have a censored and uncensored version of the series.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I am ready for sex.
If you want to see a small house cat one-shot opponents, or you just want to see your fill of degenerate elf antics, Beheneko is your ideal show this season.
Hey man, this look pretty good, man. Where your clothes at?
Headhunted to Another World, from Salaryman to Big Four, follows Yuchimura, who is summoned to a fantasy world by the Demon Overlord. He is offered a job to become one of the 4 Heavenly Kings in the Demon Lord army, with full benefits and paid vacations. Yuchimura has been bogged down by his job in the real world and reluctantly agrees. This show follows Yuchimura as he works primarily as a negotiator between demi-human and fantasy races in order to grow the Demon Lord's army. Thus far, we have seen him interacting with ogres, orcs, and minotaurs, but one thing has stuck out to me thus far. Isn't this blatantly pig cannibalism, with the pig-looking orcs eating a wild boar? Headhunted to Another World is chock full of comedy and doesn't follow your OP protag as they one-shot things. Definitely one of the top 3 of this season, alongside the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper.
一度持ち帰らせていただきます。
The last of this top 3 and the best series of this season for Isekai is possibly the greatest Alchemist of all time. This was a show that I put at the back end of my watch list for these Isekai series, as the title alone made me really hesitant to watch it. I was then blown away and realized that I should not have judged this book by its cover, so to speak. It is a comedy series Isekai that takes itself serious, supplanting the comedy with serious moments that actually translate well. Takumi Iruma is accidentally summoned by the goddess of this world, to which she makes it up to him by giving him the right to choose any skill he would like. Instead of becoming your typical one-shotting main character, he goes and learns how to become a blacksmith to craft ores, tame a wild spider, and more as an alchemist. It is actually a pretty well-crafted isekai show that sees a very progressive nature in it. At one point, they initially mentioned slaves, which I was thoroughly worried about, but they actually made the concept fairly progressive in a fantasy setting. The nature of this quote-unquote slavery is actually indentured servitude, with those who are haggled by debts, prisoners of war, and reformed criminals being given a chance to have a life. It also provides basic human rights protections to those people, so if anything, this shouldn't be the term slavery, but actually indentured servitude, or more like a work contract. And I know what you're thinking, there's obviously going to be some kind of typical ecchi shenanigans, but that's actually not the case, with Takumi genuinely caring for the 2 women he hires to help him with his daily affairs, Maria the housemaid and Sophia Sylphie the elf. Sophia is cursed, with her magic sealed off and her body weakened by this state. What once was a great warrior is now dilapidated and worn down. Takumi then helps cure her of her ailments, and honestly, I haven't found myself more interested in a fantasy show since Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy. I highly recommend this series, and undoubtedly suggest that this is the best isekai series of the season.
I'm at the go!
Let me know what you think of these series down below, or if you have any anime that you'd like to see me talk about. If you're already watching these series, what do you think of them right now? Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new. I've been Siren Zen, and I'll see you all next time.